Hey, Jonathan here. So I want to start this video off just with a brief little story about the early days of my marriage. I was living with my wife in a one-bedroom basement apartment, and my younger brother, who was moving across the country, came to live with us and was sleeping on my couch. Now, I don't know if you can envision, but for a newlywed couple, living with my brother was not a good idea. I wanted privacy with my wife for obvious reasons, and that came to a head, so much so that my brother and I had a giant fight in front of my wife. The only issue was it was early on in our marriage, and my wife looked at me yelling at the top of my lungs to my brother and him at me, and she's like, "Who did I marry?" And it was on that day that I nearly lost my wife. But then the day after, she and I went out on a date. We were walking home, and I had this realization that I needed to do something about my anger because I didn't want to end up in the same situation that my dad did. Now, my dad had a whole host of other issues, but regardless, I didn't want a divorce. The only challenge is that if you want to stay married to your spouse, you've got to be that safe space. You cannot bring that disharmony and that threat from the outside world into your home. And I think that's what a lot of men don't understand, is that they walk around and we think that we need to provide and protect our families, our wives and our kids from all the threats outside, but then we become that threat inside the home. And that is a huge thing to have to look in the mirror and say about yourself. And when you're looking at yourself in the mirror and really having to admit that you've got a problem with anger and that it's coming out at your loved ones, it's very hard because it feels like we have no control over it. It feels like, we just try to hold it in, try to hold our emotions in, and then they just come out. And when they do come out, they damage our relationship. And, women speak of a lack of safety in a marriage, and what they're talking about is that emotional safety, because they will say things and they'll do things, or worse, they'll be intimate with us because they want to manage our emotions. And this is a really big problem that we as men have. If we are married to a woman who thinks she needs to behave in certain ways to manage our emotions. So there's a few things I need to say here. The first is, we as men can retain that moral high ground when our wives, our partners do something untowards us. The issue is that when we lose that moral high ground, it's because we've expressed ourselves in a way that's unsafe for them. So my wife will disappoint me. Even actually yesterday, for example, no, 2 days ago, she sent an email out on my behalf, but I'd already sent the email. And so here she was sending emails, in my email, sending emails to people. Now, I need her support because I get so much communication from people that I need her support in drafting emails, getting things ready, blah, blah, blah. But she clearly didn't read the email chain that I'd already sent the email. And so that would have been, in the past, something I would have gotten very upset about her with her about. But I didn't in this instance because I've taken that step to say, I don't want to lose that moral high ground. I want to be able to be a man who is upset with my wife for something that she said and done, in the same way that she's upset with me from time to time over things I've said and done. But more importantly, I want to retain that moral high ground because I want to be able to say to her, "Sweetheart, I don't appreciate how you did that or what you did. I don't like it. I want you to stop, but I'm not going to get angry with you. I'm not going to yell at you. I'm not going to raise my voice. I'm not going to make you feel unsafe and ultimately cause damage to our relationship." It's because I want to retain my moral standing in her eyes, not only in my eyes, but in her eyes. I want to be seen as a good man. And I think that's what a lot of men, where they lose the plot, is they lead with their anger as opposed to what the emotion is underneath. And I wrote about this, which is why you guys commented to get this video. I wrote about this yesterday. The emotion underneath, the anger, where it comes from and where it's directed, is not at your wife, because nothing like sending an email could ever warrant her having to face the onslaught of me being yelling at her or overly mad at her because she just sent a simple email. The fine doesn't fit the crime. Pardon me. The fine doesn't fit the crime. And so we've got to understand that we want to be a good man, because that's what most of us really want. Most men want to be admired, respected. I can say if I poll 100 men, 99 are going to tell me that they want to be admired and respected from their wives. Yet they give away that respect and admiration by losing the moral high ground when they can't control their anger. So here's what you're going to do. You've got to run towards your anger and speak of it matter-of-factly so that it doesn't occupy this mystical, never spoken of, hidden place in your relationship. So it doesn't become something that gets swept under the rug, that you're not trying to put Humpty Dumpty back together again after your anger explodes. What it becomes is, and you can see it in my content on Instagram, something that you speak of. The way that someone who struggles with alcohol addiction, someone who struggles with weight loss, someone who struggles with whatever it is, the more you can speak matter-of-factly about your anger. And here, like my wife and I, we have a 15-minute fight once every 3 months, which the temperature is like minimal. I barely elevate my tone of voice, and my wife gets defensive, which is like super irritating. That's her whole issue and her whole childhood wound. But where I'm going with this is that you want to speak about your anger matter-of-factly so that you let the elephant in the room know that you are aware that it's there. It's not something that you hide, not something you run away from, but something that you speak about, so that I can own my anger. I can say I struggle with anger, and that's true. I struggle a lot less with it. It definitely doesn't win any battles against me anymore, but it used to. And because it used to, I'm going to own my behavior in the past and speak of it whenever anyone wants to ask me about it. You know, my dad smoked crack cocaine until the day he died. Well, not the day he died, but probably a few weeks before he died. He did that. If he didn't want people to know about it, he shouldn't have done it. So if I didn't want people to know about my anger, I shouldn't have been angry and exploded on my wife in the past, in the early days in our relationship. So I don't hide behind shame, fear, guilt, or embarrassment. I lead with courage, strength, and I hope to recapture my morals of what it means to be a good man, a good husband, and a good father. So step one in this process of winning the battle against anger is to demystify it and talk about it and say, and admit to yourself and say, you know what, it's okay. I'm not a bad man because I've struggled with anger. Because that's really what it boils down to. Men believe that they're a bad man somehow because they struggle with anger, so that they won't own it, they won't try to clean it up, and it'll stay this hidden elephant in the room that no one speaks of until he bursts out again and destroys the place. I want you to talk about it so that you can talk about it matter-of-factly. It just becomes something that you struggle with, something that your wife knows about, something that you know about. Your neighbor probably knows if the cops are ever called. Anyway, you're going to talk about it, because when you make something matter-of-fact, you demystify it, and it becomes easier to handle. Step two in these early stages of managing anger is to go to your wife and ask for her help and support. You guys want to see it as anger is affecting your relationship, and you want to link arms and fight back against it. This can't just be about you and you winning the battle against this, because it's not that she's the cause of it or deserves it. I'm asking you to recruit her in your efforts to overcome this challenge. And when you recruit her as a teammate to say, let's swim in the same direction, let's fight against this together, you're asking her to support you. And what that looks like, I mean, I've got tons of resources. You guys can, you can book a free clarity call with me. I'm happy to walk you through it. We've got a big launch coming up for Black Friday that's going to be amazing. It's really going to change my entire business, where I'm going to get to spend a ton of time with you guys one-on-one and also in groups. Anyway, But the idea is that the tools will come later. Like, I can teach you that the tools aren't important at this stage. The thing that's important is making that decision to get on the same team and to ask for her help. You probably get her help in paying the mortgage and raising the kids, in, pickups and drop-offs and intimacy. Like, we're in this as a team. This is something that we do together. And you know what? When my wife gets sick, I spring in. When she's struggling with something, I help her. And so if I'm struggling with something like anger, I'm going to ask her for her support. Now think of what we've done here. We've demystified anger, so we've not made it this scary thing, something that we can talk about, something I can matter-of-factly talk to her, discuss with her, ask for her help, ask for her support. But then now I've recruited her in this process, in this battle against this elephant in the room that we want to kick out of our relationship. So this is step one and step two. I'm going to leave it at there because I don't want this video to get too long. But if you have any questions, by all means, just go ahead and book a clarity call. I can help you chart a path. I can give you the tools. I can give you the direction. But these are the first. You've got to make the decision to kick anger out of your relationship first. That is step one and step two, the two steps I've given you. It's the way Van Gogh was asked how he painted his paintings. He said, first I dream my paintings and then I paint my dreams. And what's important about that, and what I take from that, is that Van Gogh did not need to be told how to put ink on canvas. That was not his problem. It was the vision of what he wanted that ink to look like when it hit the canvas. And so the vision that you need to construct in your mind is one of you having control over your emotions, your anger, and building a safe and connected relationship in which your wife feels like she wants to tether herself to. When you build that vision in your mind, all the tools will come. They're so irrelevant. It's that decision that you need to make at the onset about the type of man you want to be and the type of relationship that you want. I hope this helped you guys. Again, reach out if you want to book a clarity call. You know where to find me. It's the link in my bio. In the meantime, I wish you guys all the best, and I will talk to you soon. Bye now.